Hello and welcome to Intuitive Clarifications with Natasha. I am here to assist you in your life's journey, knowing that your truth is your truth, but I'm here to bring in some insights about things that are going on in this world right now that is non-political. And if I mention something, it's just because of an example of things. And I try to stay as neutral as I can because of people's belief systems. And I hope I speak clearly because of the fact that, we're all on different understandings of spirituality or negotiating things. But remembering that life is about our stories, right? What are we learning from today's journey? And, we're in the midst of some big changes here. I mean, the planet feels like it's changing, the polarities, maybe the north south kind of polarity is changing. I know here in the Northwest, our weather has been not the same that has been in the last couple of years. But the thing is, though, that's called reality, that we're changing things. And what I was getting just the other day when I was posting about the show was is that how it's like, you know, we're having so much change. And then why am I all of a sudden seeing, like I said earlier, just a moment ago about political stuff? I'm not trying to do that. But, the planes that fly overhead and they leave their trails, right? I'm like going, we're having so much change. We're having all this stuff that happens. And then we got these extra things in the universe that are human that are adding more change onto it instead of just being what it is. Let the weather be. Hi, Veronica. Let the weather be what it's meant to be. Let the story be what it's meant to be. Let whatever it is meant to be. But no, we got these extra things that are trying to add more change, because we got a lot of stuff here. And then we've got on top of it, we've got the realities of, our own personal life. And, I'm negotiating, my second Saturn return in its second season of, because it was supposed to happen kind of like the first or last year, but I've got mine in 3 stages. And my second stage is during this first part of the year about making decisions. And, I'm not necessarily making huge decisions yet, but I'm making them. And it's one of those things, and, I'm in the middle of trying to figure out how to negotiate, and I was having some conversations with some people today at my day job, and I was mentioning to them, what are you motivated to do? What are you motivated to be? What are you motivated to do lately? What are your projects? And, well, I'm kinda just sitting down and, doing the screen thing, right? Or, one person who's always knitting these, she always has these knitting projects that she's doing. Well, I'm just right now knitting a blanket, and I'm actually just reading most of the time now. It's like it was hard for me to even get up and do anything. And so with that, and I was listening to my astrologer, and she was saying that these are the times right now that we are not meant to necessarily make some big decisions. We're not we're everything's kind of in that place where every year at the beginning of the year it's like, we have the resolutions that we want to make, right? We want to be proactive in them, and yes, it's good to do that. Yes, it's good to be where we're at, but I've almost felt, I don't want to say depressed, but kind of a depressed moment. And it's been hard for me to get motivated, and I was like going to I was gonna actually do some things today in between the time I got home and my show, and I was, like, sitting there going, and I got on my vibration plate because I love my vibration plate because it gets me moving, but yet it's not stress for my body. My body does not like jarring. My body doesn't like lifting weights. I have an upper body thing that loves gentleness, but yet movement. I wanna keep moving. I wanna keep doing, and I wanna keep being me. But I got on my vibration plate. I didn't sit on the couch like I have been because I've been kind of, I want to say, like I said, I don't want to say depressed, but depressed. That depressed moment where things aren't necessarily all moving forward. And I know that there's so many things that are feeling heavy, and I'm an empath like a lot of people are. I have been doing a lot of things, and a lot of things have been coming to me. And I know I went through something through the holidays that my nervous system really got hit. I'm not going to say that here on social media because that's a private thing, but my emotions really got hit, and my nervous system got hit, and so it took a little bit of time for me to recover from that. And so I was giving my time that was giving myself that time. But the changes that I'm feeling right now are like something that I'm going to have to plan for in the future. It's not a now thing, it's a future thing, kind of like you, Veronica, making a plan to move back, to do your movement that you're doing, that you were making those plans last year, and you're still in the process of should you really do them, right? Well, I know for me that I'm thinking that, I'm going to have to do something the first week of April. And I'm like, okay, I like to do what we're talking about doing, which is travel. I like to travel, but that travel is going to interact. Thank you. Yes, Veronica. Um, that travel is going to interact with making decisions, and I'm not too sure if I want to make those decisions. So I'm like, I'm excited about the travel. I'm excited about that interaction. But the thing is, though, but that's what we're talking about with changes. Is that right now it's really time to put our information into buckets, right? Like I know that I have plan A, plan B, and plan C. And in there, and the universe might have the rest of, the alphabet. But I'm right now not necessarily focusing on, but interacting with, what is presenting, which now is plan A, plan B, and plan C. And, if things kind of work out the way that those plans are, I can maybe speak of it, maybe next year when I know the outcome of them, but I can't speak of them right now because it's a private thing. But I'm kind of trying to give you the enough tools to know that I'm living life like you guys. I'm negotiating life like you guys. And we're all in the midst of this, like, what do we do with these changes? And I'm telling you that right now I'm putting as much away as I can, putting away enough information, putting away enough money, putting away enough just that energy field around me, because I know that I'm motivated to do things. I'm motivated to get in and rearrange things, but then to get the body up and moving, it's hard to do that. So I'm doing a lot of processing. Like I had a dream last night where I was walking a lot. I was walking, doing things, and it wasn't where I could drive. And I was like trying to hide from people, trying to be unseen. But at the same time, though, I was walking into, I wouldn't call it a school, but it felt like a school. And I was walking by these rooms, and this one person who I assumed was a teacher, but it almost felt like a college type of situation, that that they were actually talking about murdering people. They were talking about actually murdering, and it was time because they did this every like 3 years as they murdered somebody, and it was just time to do that ritual. And they called it a ritual. And I've heard who they were gonna do that with, and it was kinda interesting, and I was, like, going, "But I don't want I don't want that person to pass away," and I said, "You can come with me." And, so we were doing we were walking, and I was, like, going, "Okay, so now that they know where we're going, I can't hide in, like, places where people don't know, because now they're going to be searching for us, not just me." And so I was like, oh, they'll use the heat seekers and that kind of stuff. And so we're going to have to actually go into a busier place, which means that we get to be seen, but we'll just kind of cloak ourselves and do our work. And so that's when I kind of woke up, was in the middle of trying to figure out how my next steps. And that the key of that dream, the next steps of where I was gonna go and how I was gonna negotiate that dream, or that, how to negotiate that story of that dream. But then that dream was a kind of a representation of our story. And what was interesting is that before I went to bed, my husband was baking bread and that kind of stuff. He's doing sourdough, and so he's got a sourdough starter. So he's got the timing of things, and so we were having a thing at school today where we had to bring food, a potluck, and it was kind of interesting because I walked after he went to bed. I walked in the kitchen, and here's this big puddle of water, and underneath our sink is a drip, and it dripped over the bucket that we have underneath because I put certain things in that bucket, like cleaner. I use vinegar and stuff like that, but it's like some cleaner stuff underneath that sink, and that was full and overgoing. And it was a good thing I went to bed after my husband. But water means emotions, and I know that I just went through some big emotions. I know my husband went through some big emotions, and the kitchen is the heart of things, the heart of preparing, the heart of movement, the heart of it's the collective of things, right? The kitchen is the center where you create food. The sink that the leak was in was the kitchen sink that we do clean our dishes, fill up our pans. So it's a hub. It's a hub of where we fill things up, clean things, and that kind of stuff. So the emotions of how do we clean, how do we go through things, how do we negotiate the new story of our life, it was part of that thing. And so went to bed right after I had to clean that up, and I turned off the water. I know how to do a lot of that things. So I turned off the water because it was under pressure. I knew that if with the water on, it was under pressure. So I turned off the water under the sink. And, so I had a lot of turmoil before I went to bed. And it kind of makes sense that I was doing that. Plus, I had a little bit of sugar. My husband made cookies. So had a little bit of sugar before I went to bed, which is not good for me because if my tummy's working, my brain is working. And so I know that about myself and I know that about me. But, we're going into this story of why are we going through this change? And, the change is happening because we're on so many levels of change. And I don't know if you've been feeling this way. I would love to hear if you're feeling this way. That it was like I was standing on the playground the other day going, "Oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm making decisions for myself. I'm doing my life. I'm having no conversations with anybody around me. All the kids are playing, other duties are doing their thing. I was just by myself and just kind of standing there." And I'm like going, I'm in control of my life. I'm making decisions about my life, but the government's doing their changes. Like, there's things that are going off in Africa, and there's things going off over in the Middle East, and there's things going off, and it's like our government here in the U.S. is talking about doing certain things, and I'm like going, okay, this is weird. This is really weird. I'm making choices for my personal life. And I know I've always done this. I know I've always made personal choices for my life. But it was almost like totally like, in the show when there's like somebody walking down the street and all of a sudden everything is zipping by you. It's zipping, 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 zipping by you. And like in Harry Potter, when they were they're on the train station and they're going into their little section of 59 point and a half, right? And they had to go into there. There's just these different movies where it's like there's this different things that are happening in our life, and we're just walking along going la da 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 da. Isn't that interesting? Dina, Dina Mooney, thank you for being here. Interesting about the kitchen. I sew and craft, and I can't sew or focus unless my kitchen is clean. And that's interesting because that is part of the mindset, right? Because kitchen represents so many parts of our body. It represents the mind. It's because the clutter of the kitchen kind of clutters our mind, but then it's also about the digestion because it's about how do we how do we f- do our food, right? And so going into this, that the kitchen is a hub of a lot of different meanings. It's where the heat, all the elements are there in feng shui, right? We have water, we have metal, we have earth, the soil, the dirt that comes on our ground, and then we have air, right? And we have fire. So we have all of them, and most of the time, the sink and the stove are right next to each other. So we have water, and fire. Ain't that the story of my marriage? Because my husband's a double Leo, double fire. I'm a double Cancerian, double water, right? And so he's got Libra, which is air, so he's got a lot of air in the mind, and then I have Aries rising, which is fire. So in myself, I have the balance between fire and water. And as I'm talking, I'm like, oh, to get a little bit more motivated, I can ask my fire to get me steamed up here. Okay, because I'm having a little bit of difficulty, and I'm going to name it difficulty getting up. So I didn't sit on the normal couch that I normally have been sitting on. I sat on another couch, and actually, I went to sleep for a few minutes. I really need to shut down. So if you're feeling like that you are just drugged and needing to sleep a little bit, let's say when you come home or doing that, I'm just going to say the body has processed a lot. And if you're the empath that I know that you are, because we all are, right? Our bodies are processing through so much change that it's about doing that. And it's okay to shut down. There's been a lot of sleep studies out there that saying, that we're meant to sleep so many hours and we're not meant to sleep all those hours at one time. And so it's okay to enjoy when your body needs such a now. I'm not always a napper. I don't like to get in the pattern of napping, and I'm going to have to be careful, because if I continuously get in the pattern of napping around that 2 o'clock time, then if I don't nap, I'm going to be in that energy field. So what I'm going to start wanting to do is take like my adrenal medicine or do something to help me when I get home and eat, to help. Hi, Kimberly. Yeah, tired more than normal. And I would agree, because there's that depressed energy, that depressedness of our understanding. And it's okay if you're feeling that way, because we're processing a lot. And we got to remember the holidays were just 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago. And I don't know if you did it with a bunch of people or nobody. It was stressful to go through it. I went to Florida during the holidays, and it wasn't stressful to go, but it was just, there was just being around family and a lot of changes and a lot of energy. And it was just, I was grateful to be there. Oh my gosh, I was so grateful to be there. And I was so grateful for being able to play cards with my mother-in-law and my kid, because it was like, it was just nice to slow down for a little bit. That we're in the midst of just doing. And so if you can, part of this change that we're going through is, how do we honor our body? How do we honor ourselves? I was listening to a couple teachers today, and they were saying how, that they like to take sometimes an 8-minute nap. It's that 8-minute just shut down and restart button. And that's okay to do that. I know for me, I've been doing that. And so if you are feeling like that, this change that we're all in, and I've done shows about change, and each time I do, I talk a little bit about something different, that it's okay to honor that body part of yourself, because our heart center, if we went to the doctor right now, people might see that their blood pressure is up. They might see that their liver numbers are up. They might see that their kidneys aren't flushing very well. They might see that all these different things, but it's a moment. And so make sure you drink a little bit of water. I know that I got off the habit of having a little healthy salts in the morning. I want to get back onto that again, because my salts were actually good for a change. And so when you are in the midst of doing a lot of these things, that we have to honor our bodies. And I know for me, like, I really should start my tax. Oh, yeah, I should start my taxes, shouldn't I? Because it's going to be that time, and I don't want to do them all at one time. And so, it's like, I need to start making my list, just to make it more visible to me that this is what I want to do. Because I got a new cat. She's now been at my house for over a week now, and she's feeling more and more comfortable about being places in here. But it's like, I got things ready for her, and now I want to get things to be where she can use them, because I wasn't sure what she was going to use. And so I was able to pull things out. Now I got to move them so they're not so in the places that they are, because I put a couple of them in my spiritual room here. But you know, I want to make my spiritual room my spiritual room. I want to make the I have a little craft room that I put things in, and then I got Rocky, who's not no longer here anymore. That I got Oh, nice. What did you name her? Well, her name was Raja, Raja, Raja. And, she's 10 years old, so I'm not changing it for her. She likes that name. I'm honoring her that way, but it's been hard 'cause she looks like my Maya. When I had a tortie several years ago, and so she looks like my Maya, and it's been hard not to say Maya, but yet at the same time, she's Raja and Rocky and Raja. So sometimes Raja wants to come out. So thank you for asking, Veronica. So going into this, and I'm going to go shut my door just a minute. Hi, my love. So when we're in the middle of a lot of these different changes and in our understanding that life is going to be about doing your research right now is a good thing. Finding out what you need to do. Like one night I didn't sleep. I did a video on not sleeping. And it was a nice night because I didn't decide to fight it. I didn't decide to fight my sleepless night. A lot of us watch the clock. A lot of us think that we need to be asleep. A lot of us think, no, sometimes we do a lot of thinking in the middle of the night. And so I was just laying there, just thinking. I was kind of in a meditative state. I just decided not to fight. I'm kind of done fighting things. I'm going to make decisions about no, yes, this doesn't feel right. Yes, I'm letting words come out of my mouth without any ill intent, because they're truthfulness for me. So I'm just letting things come out when they meant to. I'm kind of done fighting things, but yet I'm making boundaries around things and keeping boundaries around things. But when we're going through this, that I was not sleeping very well, and so I was getting some downloads, and I was asking the universe, with these changes coming up, what should I do? And there's no decision to be made about this change, right? There's no decision yet to make this change. The universe doesn't know what we're going to do because we haven't done the research yet. We haven't done the gathering of the information yet. So there's really can't. I know what my boundary is, but yet, I'm going to have to do more research to make sure my boundary is founded, is worthy of having. And so I was like laying there, and the one thing that the universe told me is that if you end up doing the thing, and it's going to be about moving, right? Moving from where I'm at to moving to another place. What are the things that you would regret not doing? Oh, ain't that a teller? Ain't that a teller? Appreciate what you have now, right? I have a friend that just moved to North Carolina, and I wish that I would have spent more time with her. So what did I do not the next day, I think it was the day after. I called up a friend and I said, we didn't have our normal birthday lunches together. Let's get together. I miss you. And I called up somebody else and said, what are you doing? How are you? I called up somebody else and said, what's going on with you? These people that I haven't reached out lately, because I want to, do. And one of the friends that I reached out to, he's going to be going down to Arizona for a couple weeks. And so I was able to catch up with these people because even though it was over phone and I'm going to be meeting up with people for lunch, the physical people, that, it's like, do those things, appreciate those things that you have. And so now part of that is going to be is that I have this little craft room that is kind of my ADHD. I'm going to put it here for right now until I deal with it room right now. And it's luckily just a small little room. It's just about as big as the room that you see behind me. But it's enough to, be a little disorganized. And I've been wanting to paint. I've been wanting to do a little bit of craft things. I have time right now to do it, and I'm going to have to do my tax, won't get my tax stuff together and, newsletter and stuff like that. But there's these little blinks of eyes that, I can get things done, but I want to be better organized around it. And so, it's time really to honor these places that, you know, maybe I should go put my laundry away. Maybe I should finish all these little projects that I started. Maybe I should try to honor these places that need a little TLC. And I'm not going to stress about it, right? I'm not going to stress about it. But it's do those things that you wish that you would have done. Like let's say, like if you start out your week on Monday and then you are wanting by Friday, you kind of want to have something done. Well, what would be on your list that you wish you would have asked your future self? What would you wish that you would have gotten done by that Friday? Well, rest, eat better, sleep a little bit better, which means sometimes if you don't sleep at night, you got to rest during the day a little bit. Oh, maybe I should move that thing on the counter that I keep seeing. Oh, that plant really wants to be watered. Oh, hmm. I keep tripping over that box. Why do I keep tripping over that box, right? So it's not about big movement right now. It's about doing those little things that we can really honor ourselves to take the stress out, kind of like um like Deanna, you needing to do the dishes before you do your crafts, right? Doing those little things so that you feel more breath in your life, that's what's important right now. Because it's not about the emergency thing yet. We're going to be getting into this transition probably around the spring equinox and um, solstice, the spring no, the spring equinox is the spring and fall equinox, and the summer and winter. I got them backwards. Sorry. See, are you feeling kind of cloudy minded too? It's like there's these moments where we're all in the midst of a lot of different things. And I know for me, I haven't done a session lately. And when I'm not doing my intuitive work, whew, I get kind of lost in no man's land, and that no man's land is not necessarily a healthy place for me. I feel more motivated when I'm doing a conversation, like doing this show. Maybe I should go live a little bit more often during this time to get myself more up and forward instead of sitting back and relaxed because change is in the air, but yet the gas pedal kind of says about 5 miles an hour through that change. Even though the polarities might be changing on the earth, um, the weather's being a little different. We're going into the grocery stores and that's feeling different. It's like there's something about the air around me that it's like I was saying, that it's almost like in those movies or those commercials where you see everything going by you and you're doing your own speed, right? There's this, like, it just feels weird out there. I have kids that are playing their games, and I know I've witnessed this before, and I know that I've negotiated this before, but it's like this group of kids are playing tag, this group is talking over here, and here comes this tag that runs around you, and then you're talking to somebody else, and this kid got hurt, so you're walking as they're playing tag, you're walking over to this kid that gets hurt. So that's kind of the world around us right now, is representation on the playground. And it's kind of, and then you get a kid that comes up and says, "Can I just go get my chips out of the classroom? I forgot them." Right? What can you do with this? What can you do with this? So I think this is a good segue to channel right now. Um, and I'm feeling like it's Jesus, Yahshua, that wants to come in. And and I it's a thing. So if you don't believe in channeling, remembering that, just listen to the words. I'm not a full channel. I like to stay here a little bit, so I witness a little bit of what's going on. I don't leave all the way, but I do intentfully bring the being in fully to honor what they need to tell you, that I do not hinder. Now, remembering when we channel, remember that I am channeling through me, they are channeling through me. So with that that as I come in, they're coming through me. So if you hear somebody else channel Yahshua, they're going to channel them in their way because they are another being channeling. So they use my language, they use my mind, they use my understandings because they're in my frequency too, as well as I'm in theirs. So with that I'm hoping that you appreciate who they are. I am going to be pulling some oracle cards towards the end of the show after channeling. And I'm praying and hoping that you are doing well with what you're going through and remembering it's all about breath. I was talking to somebody and I'm waiting for him to come in my body to align with him. That I was talking to somebody and they were having a very busy weekend. And before on Friday, we were talking about how breathing, take a breath before you get in the car, take a breath when you get in the car, take a breath before you get out of the car, take a breath before you walk into a building. And, it was interesting because she says, Natasha, you'd be proud of me. I took 2 breaths this weekend because of our conversations. I was driving on the freeway and I decided to take some deep breaths because we had that conversation. I said, "Did you feel better?" She goes, "Actually, I did. I was very present in where I was at that moment. My brain's usually going everywhere, but I was present in that moment." And then my brain went off and doing things. I said, "Good job. Practice a little bit more," right? So remembering that we're in the middle of a lot of things, but remembering breath is very important right now. I know I've been doing some deep breathing because we only really use this much of our oxygen. We want to use just a little bit more, right? Don't hyperventilate, but yet you want to bring in some deep breaths and be where you're at. Okay. Here comes Jesus, Yahshua. Hello, dear friends. You have come through a lot in your life's path. And as you go forward into your understanding, remembering that love is part of this negotiation of your reality. Love yourself, love your fellow man, love the one that is in the house with you, love who they are because they are all perfectly imperfect like you. I love that statement that we brought to her to bring forward. When you are in the midst of doing a lot of what's happening, is that this fall, winter, springtime has been about honoring your bodies. We all are living on different frequencies and realities, hemispheres, different parts of this earth. And the change that everybody's been going through has been part of the evolution of your newer self. There have been more realities that have been trying to keep it in a denser frequency. But that is a choice, right? That is a choice. And this analogy that this dear one got, where things were speeding by her and she was just walking her own path. That is such a truth right now because you are in understanding of that you have choices in your reality to bring yourself to your understanding of your higher frequency. You making decisions in your truth pattern can bring you into a vibration of a higher truth for you. So be it as it may that you are all in the midst of making those choices. So even if you choose to do nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, doing nothing for a long time, there is a stagnation with that, which does not help with the life path that you are called to do. Be ready to honor yourself where you're at. Be ready to love yourself where you are at. Be ready to understand that we all deserve love where we are at. Joyfulness is an abundance. Loving yourself is an abundance. Being with yourself where you are at is an abundance. Honor your moments. Remembering that as this world changes, find your own comfort zone. If that means that you need to put monies in your banks, as you call them now, or put understandings in your pockets now, then if you can, remembering that your own energy field is part of the banking system of your reality. If you are running yourself around because you need to be busy, as the statement says, you're not going to be finding yourself in a comfort place because busyness does not get you anywhere. This dear one has been doing more by not doing anything, even though she needs to finish some projects, as she calls them, puts things away that she hasn't put things away, negotiate where she's at with what she's happening, is part of that story of energy. So as she has fears of doing certain things, it is actually time to honor who she is and do those things. She may need help, she may not need help. It is time for her to really make decisions, right? And which is honoring the truth of who she is. That is something that everyone should be doing, is honoring the truth that they are. Honor where they're at. Be where you are at. If you are meant to get up and get a job, then start practicing being up and doing that job for those hours. Start doing the work that you need to do. Then take a break and honor where you're at. She, at her job, is starting to get a little bit, as the statement says, bored with where she's at. She's doing the same thing every day. Well, not this is the same thing every day, but she's doing what she's doing. But she's finding a new purpose every time she walks into a classroom. She's noticing that the struggle with this one person means that there's something to work on. When she walks into another place, she's finding another thing that she needs to do. So she's focusing on some little places that feel righter to interact with, because every little moment that you're doing right now can make a big shift in the realities where you're at. And that's what that dream was about, was listening to the environment around her. She listened to the guy that wanted to do his every 3 year killing of somebody, right? And she overheard it as she was walking by. And the guy saw who she was when she heard it, but she acted like she didn't hear it. So he wasn't sure. So that's a different little detail of her dream that she did not quite remember. That is very vital. Right now, remembering the environment that you're in, start really listening to your environment. Start being interactive with the little moments of the environment. If you are ready to get out in traffic in your car, do you speed out or do you wait for a moment? Good question. Do you, when you are eating, do you eat quickly to be done, or do you enjoy eating? Do you wait for a moment in the shower, or do you rush through your shower? Do you get right up out of bed when your alarm goes off, or do you sit there for just a minute and say, I'm grateful to be alive? Before you go to bed, do you take a moment and honor who you are and what you're doing? Do you see that right now, as the world is speeding around you, time is changing, realities are changing. It's all about how fast do you walk? How do you negotiate the people going around you? Right? So it's time for you to really believe in yourself. And I honor you. Things will be shown here soon in the path that you're meant to do as you walk forward. But your eyes, ears, nose, and senses of your lovingness the cat whiskers, as this dear one calls them, will tell you when and where to go and what to do. Your motivation will pop up when you are needing it to do. It's part of the evolution of where we are at the moment that we're at. Do not force things. It's okay to use a can opener to force the can open. But do you work with the can opener, or do you just jaw the can opener open and then cut yourself? Honor where you're at and what you're doing to honor where you're at and what you're doing. And it's time to believe in you. I, Yahshua, it is being here with you. Call upon me, my mother, Mary, and others. Magdalene wants to help you also. Mary Magdalene, be with you as she is called. She is my sweet. To be with what you're at and what you're doing. There are many around you that want to help you. So honor who wants to help you at the moment. You do not know their names, maybe, but you know that they are there. So ask whoever of the greater good of me, can you assist me in this life's walk? And we will be there. May love be with you. May you love yourself through this. May you know you are all meant to be here on this planet at this time to do what you're doing. Because you are doing, even if you're not doing. My love is with you, my friends, my family, my sisters and brothers. Whew. Thank you for being here with me, with Yahshua, to negotiate that story. Whew. I just love being with him. Whew. That was a lot. Whew. He's feeling more and more present, I'm going to say. You know what? I had a beetle on the playground. I'm going to look up beetle, I think, too. Okay, so you know what wants to come out today, which I will read what comes out. Do you choose who you channel, or do they choose you? You know what, Teresa, or Deanna? It's a kind of a combination, because I don't necessarily say no to deities, but yet there's certain deities I do say no to. So I do have a gatekeeper that keeps out certain ones. But yet I do allow, like Jesus, Mother Mary, Michael, who's a star being. I do allow different ones in, but I don't necessarily choose. I see who's present, and we choose who wants to do that through me. Okay, so thank you, Kimberly. Yes, I hope it was a beautiful message. I remember some of it. Okay, so my gentle creatures are going to be part of this, and that's who made them. Yes, I will give you a card, Veronica. I knew you'd be up there. So if you would like a card, I can pull an oracle card for you. If not, remembering if you're listening to this later or witnessing this later, that if there's an oracle card that settles with you too, it doesn't necessarily have to be a card that's picked for you. Messages are universal. And so whatever card is here. So Veronica. Hi, Kimberly. Yes, I will. Oh, thank you for having a beautiful message. Yes, thank you. Okay. Okay, I am feeling this card here that's pulled out. Direction. Oh, I like this. Direction. I think this is good for a lot of us, and this is good for the whole message for tonight. Direction. I love these cards. They're so cute. So if you're listening to this later, it's a creature, and it's talking to an owl type of creature, and it's asking, and there's a quarter of a moon, and it's the creature has a pack on its back, like it's carrying, it's traveling somewhere, and it's asking another animal for its story. So direction. So give me a second to look up direction, Veronica. It's alphabetical. Please be patient with me as I read. Direction. Okay. Here are two creatures whose paths have crossed on this starry night. The crescent moon doesn't offer a lot of light, but the stars lend their own glow. The barn owl has asked the gentle creature a question of direction. The gentle creature crouches down to listen closely. When someone asks for guidance, it is often good to know more about this individual. Does the owl wish to fly? There, as many would assume, or is the owl planning to travel in short hops? Remaining close to the ground. For once these matters are clarified, then directions can be given. In return, the owl offers a gentle creature answers to their own questions about the road ahead. Directions can be funny things. Sometimes they place us on a direct path, but often they offer us a chance to explore more. And that extra path can mean the difference between destination and the adventure. What do you want when you ask for direction? Are you looking to reach the end or to discover something new? Ain't that the story? Boy, sometimes I find in my intuitional gift is that I try to listen for a little bit to get the story. And then when the story starts repeating or somebody starts going down a rabbit hole, that's when I offer assistance in how they can maybe move through things. Okay, so direction. Ain't that a good one? You're more than welcome. Okay, so this is for Kimberly. Okay, Kimberly, put your intention out there. What would you like to know from the gentle creatures? I love this deck. It's a gentle reminder of something. Okay, so this card has been as I've been filtering through, it's been in my eyesight. Okay, so this one is clearing. Clearing. Isn't that cute? So the creature is watching this one bird that's carrying something. It almost looks like an egg. So clearing. So let me go to clearing. Alphabetical again. Clearing. Okay. So sometimes we all need a little help. Our gentle creatures are getting that help. They have had so many rough spots, so many hurts that they need to take the time to rid themselves of the negativity. They watch as the feathered companions removes their burden. Our friend here used a bit of folk magic. They held the egg in the palm of their hand, taking time to really think about their most recent journey. They spoke to the egg. This card is about putting your fears, your worries, your anxieties into the egg. Then it can be carried away by you or someone else to let go of the caring fashion. Do not imagine yourself broken. If you find yourself filled with thoughts that are darker than you like, instead Let yourself acknowledge that these are the things that happen to all. It is necessary to release them rather than let yourself be weighed down. You can always call on your most trusted friend to help you with this clearing in your burden. Do note that you are not always the one who needs to unburden yourself. Sometimes you are the one who summoned to help another as their most trusted friend. This is a notification to go within yourself. See which role you must take on today. It's okay if you sit with a friend and both clear the air and yourselves. Isn't that interesting, Kimberly? Yeah, it's a moment, and that's the thing is that a lot of us don't realize that being the empath that we are, we're doing a lot of clearing of the energies around us. So remember to clear ourselves. Clear ourselves. I've been doing a lot of that. I'm releasing things out of my cells, out of my tissue, out of my digestive system, out of the mitochondria. It's like all these different places, the glands that are up here, the thyroid glands, just taking a lot of that energy and moving things through. And so, as this creature has a lot of swollenness, sometimes we have a lot of swollen throats, a lot of the illnesses, the phlegm. Oh my gosh, getting rid of the phlegm, staying off dairy is important. So remembering it's about releasing, and it's not about necessarily that it means that we will forget the situation. No, but it's about how does it sit in our bodies? How does it sit in our bodies? I hope that helps, Kimberly. Okay, so Deanna. Okay, Deanna, let's do this. Clear this for you. Okay, pause. Pause. Didn't I talk about pausing for a minute? Right? Pause. Look at that creature with smelling a flower in the trees, just sitting there. I was noticing that what's sitting around him. So pause. Pause. You're more than welcome, Kimberly. Pause. PQR. Pause. Okay. I think this is a good one for everybody. I think all three cards could be read by anybody today. So pause. A good break. A good is a caress. CAESURA is a break in the various where one phrase ends and the following phase begins. Crescendo. So it's a break where it's like the dash between ending and new beginning. So we're talking about that. Okay, is a verse where one phase ends and the following phrase begins. In music, this break may vary between the slightest perception of silence all the way up to the full phase. In life, this is a moment you are given to assimilate what has just happened before being taken into the next experience. Our musical creature has set his instrument aside to enjoy the beautiful flower his music has conjured up. Rather than just look at it, he immerses himself in the experience by smelling it, holding it, and gazing into the very center of the bloom. Consider how you approach the phases of you are given in life? Do you pace resistantly, waiting for the next action? This card is showing you that perhaps it is time to sink into the quiet of right now. Allow yourself to be present by engaging all your senses. How does this moment feel to you on all levels? I think that's a good thing to do, because I know for me that, like me not sleeping that night, I was trying to process the all levels, right? And I apologize for not um, knowing that word. My dyslexia has been a little bit in the rewiring itself too. So is a break that in a verse where one phrase ends and the following phrase begins. In music, this break may vary between the slightest perception of silence all the way up to the full phrase. So I'm hoping that that helps. Okay, so I have a meeting I'm going to need to get to. I love how they plan these meetings on Wednesdays. Okay, so I'm going to pull one more card this is for the greater good. You're more than welcome. I hope that everything is helpful. These cards are really good for everybody. I like the sound of the new beginning phase. Thank you so much. You are more than welcome. And that's the thing is every morning is a new phase, right? Every time we get in the car, it's a new phase. Every time that we decide to blink our eye, it's a new phase. Every time we have a new conversation with somebody, it's a new phase. It's all our perception about where we're at. We can group it all together, or we can really enjoy the moments of the journey. And like for me, when I sat on my couch today and just kind of put my head down and closed my eyes, I just kind of was like in that moment. Where was I? I was nowhere. I was actually nowhere for a change, instead of everywhere. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. It's a moment. And to love ourselves through the phases that we're in right now. Okay, this is a card for everybody. I have a hard time shuffling cards. Like, my hands are too small, so this is how I shuffle. Okay, this card has been popping out. Okay. Herd. Oh my gosh, look at that creature. Isn't this card deck a beautiful card deck? Herd. The stormy clouds around it. He's sitting on like a barrel, and then there's like a little creature down underneath here, just like a little snail type of guy. And he's up on top of something, and the creature is down on the ground, and it's herd. Herd. Let me go to H for herd. Herd. Okay, here we go. Have you ever felt like no one hears you? Even when you sit perched on a barrel, waiting for the coming storm, will there be someone who has a moment to listen to your fears? Sometimes that is a small someone you may have not noticed until now. Sometimes it is someone taking the time to come out of their own shell to let you know that they are there to hold space with you for you. Our friend has climbed up on a perch by using his old tires. They have been calling for help into the wind, only to hear their own voice blown away. So much sadness can only be contained by letting it go into the fierce gale of the that sends those clouds scurrying across the sky. Fearing everything, They cling to their seat, wondering why they even try. Then they hear it, a small, soft, "Hello, friend," of someone who cares. That is the moment when they understand down to their own cellular level that everything will be okay. When you feel unheard, remember that you do matter to someone, that a person hears you. How can you be that quiet voice for someone else in your life? Ain't that the truth? In order to be heard, sometimes we need to hear, and sometimes we need to witness, and sometimes we need to see. And, life is about right now. How do we take in the moment? How do we believe in ourselves? At the same time, how do we believe in somebody else? It's like things are mirroring us so much right now. Life is about mirroring us right now. And how do we hold on to that mirroring aspect of ourselves? Right? Do we judge it? Like me judging myself not sleeping. I was so rested the day that I didn't sleep because I didn't fight it, right? So instead of fighting our world around us, how can we assist it? How can we better it? How can we negotiate it? I made a call to the governor's office today about taxes, right? Because we live in Washington. Taxes, taxes, taxes. Well, I don't know if that phone call is going to make a difference, but it may. I don't know, but do those things and maybe we can be heard. Maybe we can be love. Maybe we can be kindness. Maybe we can just know that we're all perfectly imperfect in this journey of our life. And if you're feeling weird, if you're feeling off, everybody is in a way feeling off. And it's just time to take the time to witness yourself. And remember, thank you, Natasha, wishing everybody a good evening. And thank you, Kimberly. Thank you for being here. Yes, wishing everybody a blessed life. And remember, I'm here every Wednesday. Check for my posts. And remember that when I am doing those posts, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing what people are saying around me. And it's time to honor yourself for where you're at and to believe where you're at because you are a miracle. I'm Natasha Venter, intuitiveclarifications.com, if you're looking for some assistance in your life's journey and your life's walk. Bye now. Oh, I still have 10% off all my sessions. Bye now.